Ever feel like traditional B2B sales is just this song and dance that nobody actually enjoys? Like, we're going through the motions, but... Well, get ready to dive into something way more refreshing with us today. We're talking about helping customers buy instead of that whole selling at them thing.
Music to my ears.
Right. And our guide for this is April Dunford's sales pitch.
Yeah.
And get this, we're going to be talking about toilets.
Toilets.
Yeah, toilets. Turns out buying one is way harder than it should be. But that's actually a clue to this whole better way of selling we're diving into.
Okay, I'm intrigued. And yeah, this really resonates in the tech world, you know? So many founders, they'd rather wrestle code all day than give a sales pitch.
Oh, 100%. So Dunford's kind of brilliant for reframing this whole thing. It's not selling. It's about helping people through that buying process.
Love that.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole toilet situation. In the book, April, she describes going from like totally confident to completely overwhelmed by jargon. Gravity assist flushes anyone.
Say what now?
I know, right? It's a lot. And she even says she almost gave up and just kept her old toilet just to escape the whole decision paralysis thing.
Oh, I've been there. And that's what's so relatable for B2B, right? We think of these as like rational, considered purchases, software, data analysis, these big investments. But decision paralysis is real. It's not like grabbing a coffee. There's actual risk involved. Sticking with what you know, even if it's not ideal, starts to look pretty good.
It's like, I know I need a new couch, but just the thought of shopping for one makes me want to curl up and die. So April, she finds this salesperson, and they actually taught her how to buy based on what mattered to her and the relief she felt. That's the magic we're talking about.
Totally. That's the core need that Dunford nails, right? Buyers secretly crave a little guidance. They're not just buying features, they're buying confidence in that decision. A good salesperson becomes that trusted advisor.
Yes. And she gives that great example with Help Scout. Instead of hitting people with this big feature list, their pitch acknowledged the buyer's journey. Hey, we know you're probably using a shared inbox, and now you're outgrowing it.
Right. Positioning themselves as that just right option, not too basic, not overly complex. And their demo wasn't just random features. It was the value those differences made for that listener's specific business, their size, and all that. That's key.
Framing is everything, right? Now, before we get to Dunford's own sales pitch structure, she breaks down these 4 common approaches, and they usually miss the mark. We've got product walkthrough, problem solution, vision narrative, hero's journey. Ring any bells?
Oh, yeah, I've seen them all. And honestly, only one of those has real potential in B2B. And even then, it's often totally mishandled. It all comes back to understanding the buyer's decision-making process. And most pitches, they just don't.
Okay, so let's dissect these common pitch approaches a bit. And let's start with one I think we've all experienced, the dreaded product walkthrough.
Oh, yeah, the classic feature dump. Right?
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into that trap, especially like for tech folks. They're excited, they're passionate about what they've built. But it's like trying to explain the beauty of a symphony by just like listing out every note.
You lost me at the overture.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. I'm remembering trying to buy a new laptop.
Yeah.
Right. And the salesperson is going on and on about like processing speeds and RAM. And I just want to know, can this thing handle my photo editing software or not?
Exactly. And that's the fatal flaw right there. It's ignoring the so what for the buyer. It's all about the vendor's story, not theirs.
Okay, so then there's a problem-solution approach. That seems a little more aligned with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You identify a pain point, then you offer the solution.
It can be. But here's where it often goes wrong. Most competitors, they're defining the problem in the same, like, generic way. It's like saying, oh, you have a headache, take this pill. But you're not explaining what makes your pill different or better than the other 1,000 headache pills.
So it's missing that unique insight, that aha moment that actually makes the buyer sit up and pay attention.
Right.
Okay, onto the vision narrative. This one, to me, I feel like this is more about inspiring investors than it is like guiding buyers.
Yeah, you're on the right track. The vision narrative, it works best when you're selling a dream, you know, a future possibility. It's big ideas, transformative change, all that. But for a buyer, someone who's facing a real decision today, it can feel way too abstract, like it's disconnected from their immediate needs.
That's like, let's build a flying car.
Right.
Which, yeah, cool, but I still need to get to work tomorrow on my regular non-flying car.
Exactly.
Okay. Last but not least, the hero's journey. Now, this one, I'm a little intrigued. It sounds kind of epic.
It is a powerful narrative structure. There's a reason it's so classic. But in the B2B world, it's got one major weakness. It often completely skips over the buyer's need to, compare. Buyers need to see the landscape. They have to weigh their options, make a rational decision, look at facts. The hero's journey, it focuses on that singular quest, the individual's triumph.
But it's like, come with me on this amazing adventure, and the buyer's thinking, hold on, I need to check my map, compare some routes, maybe pack a lunch first.
Exactly. They need a decision-making framework, not just a compelling story, no matter how good it is. And that is where Dunford's structure really shines, because she gives you that roadmap, that step-by-step, to help your buyer navigate these often really complex B2B purchases.
Okay, enough suspense. Let's break down Dunford's approach. You mentioned there are two main phases.
Yeah, the setup and then the follow-through. And that setup phase, that's where I think most traditional pitches totally fall apart. Because it's all about providing context before you even mention your product.
Interesting. So you're not leading with your solution. You're leading with what exactly?
Insight. Remember that aha moment we were talking about?
Yeah.
That's what you're aiming for here, right in that setup phase. You're sharing a perspective, something unique, a truth about their world that makes them rethink what they thought they knew.
Okay, so you're challenging their existing beliefs, shaking things up a little bit.
Kind of, yeah. But it's not about being confrontational. It's about reframing the problem in a way that makes your solution the obvious answer.
And once we've delivered that insightful punch, then what?
Then it's time to acknowledge the alternatives. This is where so many companies get squeamish, but it's actually so crucial for building trust. You can't be afraid to say, hey, we're not the only game in town.
But isn't that counterintuitive, though? Why would you point your potential customer towards the competition?
Because it shows confidence and honesty. You're saying, we know what's out there, we get your other options, and we're still confident that we're the best choice.
So it's like saying, look, I'm not going to pretend these other options don't exist. Let's just talk about them openly and honestly.
Yes. And by doing that, you're shifting your position. You're becoming the trusted advisor, not just a salesperson who's trying to, close a deal no matter what.
Okay, I'm seeing how this builds trust and credibility. So we've delivered the insight, we've mapped out the alternatives. What's the final step in this setup phase?
Painting a picture of the perfect world. This is where you define what good actually looks like for them. Not just any solution, but their ideal solution. The one they've maybe always dreamed of, but never thought was actually possible.
So it's like saying, imagine a world where this problem no longer exists. What would that look like?
Yes, and then seamlessly you show them how your solution IS that perfect world. It's such a powerful transition from setting the stage to showcasing your product or service.
Okay, we've laid the groundwork with the setup. Now let's move on to the follow-through, where your solution really takes center stage. All right, so the stage is set, the perfect world is sparkling. Time for the main act to hit the stage, right?
You got it. The follow-through, this is where your solution finally gets the spotlight. But the cool thing is, it's not some cold introduction out of nowhere. You've warmed up the audience, right? They're ready to see how you fit into this whole picture.
So it's not that, here's our amazing product, buy it now kind of vibe.
No, not at all.
It's more like, hey, remember that perfect world we were just talking about?
What? Oh, exactly. Let me introduce you to. And that introduction, it should be quick. Just hitting the highlights of how your product lines up with that insight, those alternatives, that perfect world you've already laid out so well.
Okay, so quick and to the point, no need to reinvent the wheel. Then comes the part we've all been waiting for, showing off that differentiated value. This is where you really dig into what makes your solution stand out, right?
Yeah, and this is where tailoring your message is just so critical. It can't just be about listing off features. It's got to be about showcasing the real benefits, the tangible stuff those features deliver. And ideally, through a demo, something concrete, that speaks directly to their needs, their pain points.
So it's less, look what our product can do, and more, here's how we solve your problems and help you reach your goals.
Yes, exactly. You're connecting the dots for them between what you offer and what they actually need.
Okay, I like it. But even if it sounds amazing, claims without evidence, those are just empty words. Which brings us to proof.
Right. Got to back it up. Case studies, testimonials from real people, hard data, the more specific, the better. Numbers really do speak volumes in the B2B world.
Did your solution help some company increase their sales by 20% or slash their onboarding time in half? Those are the kinds of results that are really persuasive.
Absolutely. Concrete results.
Okay, so we've delivered that powerful insight. We've talked about alternatives, painted that picture of the perfect world, introduced the solution, showcased its value, provided the proof. Anything else? Can we go get that coffee now?
Almost. Almost coffee time. We can't forget about objections. This is the part people often miss, but it's huge for building that trust and dealing with any doubts they still have.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Instead of waiting for the buyer to bring up concerns, you're already ahead of them.
Exactly. You're anticipating those common things, pricing worries, implementation hiccups, anything that could be a roadblock. And you address it head on, transparently.
So you're basically reading their minds.
Kind of, yeah. It's about saying, we know you might be thinking this, and here's why you shouldn't be.
You're turning those potential deal breakers into opportunities. You're reinforcing your value, showing how deeply you understand their world.
Exactly.
Okay, objections. Handled. Now, coffee break.
Almost. One last thing, the ask. And honestly, with all this groundwork we've done, it shouldn't feel pushy at all. It's just the natural next step in this whole journey we've been on together.
So in Dunford's world, what does a good ask even look like?
It needs to be crystal clear, relevant to everything we've talked about, and line up with where they're at in their buyer's journey. So it might just be asking for a quick follow-up meeting, maybe a proposal that outlines that perfect solution, or even inviting them to a free trial.
And this is what I thought was so interesting sometimes. The ask might even be for them to look somewhere else.
I know, right? Sounds crazy. But remember, it's not about just closing every single deal. It's about closing the right ones. If your solution isn't a perfect fit for what they need, it's honestly better to just say so. You keep that credibility as a trusted advisor.
It's about honesty and integrity, even if it might mean losing a sale right now.
Exactly, because that long-term trust, that goodwill, that is way more valuable.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot today. Toilet shopping nightmares, all the way to the nitty-gritty of Dunford's sales pitch structure. What are your final thoughts on all of this?
I honestly think it's a total game changer for anyone who's in B2B sales, or anyone really who just wants to get better at persuasion in any part of their life. It's this mind shift. From selling to helping, from pushing to guiding, you become that trusted advisor, their partner in making this decision.
And it all boils down to that one question. How can I help you achieve your goals?
Yeah.
If you can answer that genuinely, convincingly, the sale will usually just follow naturally. And that, my friend, is a wrap on our deep dive into April Dunford's sales pitch. Hopefully this has given you a new perspective on how to persuade people, maybe even how to rethink your whole approach, whether you're selling a product, a service, or just trying to get your idea across.
Absolutely. And remember, real persuasion, it's not about manipulating anyone. It's about actually understanding them, empathizing with their needs, and genuinely wanting them to succeed.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this little thought to ponder. What's a decision you're facing right now, big or small? How could you use this helping them buy mindset, but on yourself, to make a smarter, more confident choice? It's a powerful shift, and it can make all the difference. Until next time, keep diving deep.